Hey guys, I did my professional development proposal on co-teaching, and the segment that I decided to focus more specifically on was co-teaching for students with autism spectrum disorder. So I did different segments in this one, professional development, and the first segment was the who. So in my professional development, I would want to address who will be affected or supported by co-teaching with regards to students with ASD, and then also how can others around the students with ASD support these types of students. So just the main points from this that I gathered was that it is important for students with ASD to be included in the inclusion classroom, not just pulled out or singled out as students with disabilities. So in other words, it's important for these students to not be treated any differently than the other peers. So we shouldn't put them in a group by themselves, put those students with ASD in a group by themselves, or we shouldn't make it obvious that we're supporting them in a certain type of way. We should make the classroom all-inclusive for every student. It is also important for both teachers to work with the students with ASD to ensure that they are thriving in the inclusion classroom. So both teachers need to be ensuring that they are doing their part in helping the students have the most optimal learning experience. And then lastly, it is important for the neurotypical peers to support the learners with ASD socially, academically, and emotionally. So there are several different ways that these peers can support those students with ASD and that can help them learn better in this environment. All right, a second point is the what. So what is co-teaching for students with ASD in the inclusive classroom? So that's the kind of the main question that I wanted to address in this section. And just the 2 points were this is a classroom where students with ASD are included in the general education classroom with the proper support. And then these supports may be necessary, which include more one-on-one time, visual schedules, fidgets, or anything needed to help the students be successful in this classroom while being in the general education classroom. And then the when. So the main question for this is, when are students with ASD ready to be included in the general education classroom with co-teachers? So what I was getting at with this question was, when is it appropriate to take students from that self-contained classroom into the inclusive classroom, or should they just start in the inclusive classroom? So students with ASD will be ready for the inclusion classroom once they are able to have some type of independence in the classroom. These students are able to sit and do their work when prompted by a teacher. They're able to do different things by themselves and can handle the workload that comes with the general education classroom, of course, with those supports as discussed previously. And if the inclusion classroom is the least restrictive environment for the student, then it is, of course, appropriate for the student with ASD to be included because, as IDEA states, we want those students to be in the least restrictive environment so they can thrive in an educational setting. All right, the why. And there are 2 questions with this. Why is co-teaching important for students with autism, and how do these students benefit from being in an inclusive classroom rather than a self-contained classroom? So there were many points with this, but the main ones were students with ASD are able to participate academically with their neurotypical peers. So like I've stated before, they're in that academic environment in the general education classroom. Welcoming these students into the classroom can create a sense of community and help the students learn a respect for all learners. So it's not just important for the students with ASD, but it's also important for the neurotypical peers as well. Students with ASD can learn social skills by being with their neurotypical peers, so learn how to make friends. They can learn how to carry on a conversation, learn social cues, just different things that they may not learn otherwise. And also the students with ASD can receive peer support rather than just support from adults, so they may be more likely to learn from a peer than from an adult. So it can be more effective for those students. And then lastly, students with ASD can gain independence from being in an inclusive classroom. So like I stated before, it's important for them to be independent and to learn how to be independent. So this is just another way that they can gain independence and have that responsibility of taking on things that come with being in the general education classroom. All right, the how. So how can co-teaching affect learners with autism spectrum disorder? And then how can co-teachers support these learners? So how does co-teaching affect learners with ASD? That goes back to the why. All those reasons. It supports them academically, socially, emotionally, and they're just all of these things working together to be effective for the students. And then co-teachers can support these learners by using the different models of co-teaching. So these include one teach, one observe, station teaching, parallel teaching, alternative teaching, teaming, and one teach, one assist. So in this professional development, there would be a whole segment on the different types of co-teaching methods, and this specific, we'll just mention them because that is a way that co-teachers support these learners. And then co-teachers can also support the learners by establishing a positive rapport with each other and then instilling a positive learning environment for all students, especially those with ASD. All right, and then just to conclude everything, just one final words to leave with the audience. I would just have this on the board and allow them to copy it down, just really take note that these are important things, important tips to take to your classroom when working with students with ASD. So, number one, learn about the learner from the learner. Every learner is going to be different. So you need to learn what works best for each student. Teach to fascinations. Relate topics to things that they find interesting. Just help them learn more easily by teaching to those fascinations. 3, get them talking. 4, give choices. 5, consider handwriting alternatives. 6, help with organization. 7, support those transitions. 8, create a comfortable classroom. 9, take a break when needed. And 10, include. All you have to do is include those students as best you can, and you will be successful in getting these students with ASD into the inclusion classroom and be the right co-teacher for that student. Thanks.